Fly, Phoenix, fly. I haven't read any of these patch notes. I have read Hishinshin on Twitter being upset about Vayne Top and how none of the bruisers that he likes got picked in top lane at Worlds so far. Which really isn't that surprising because they've never really been super picked. It's not like these past patches have ruined them all. Except for maybe Aatrox, but other than that, whatever. What's up? I haven't read this, a single word of these patch notes. Let's see what Hannah Shoi Shoju Woo has cooked up for us today. Hi, happy almost 10 year. So, Hannah? Plural? Whatever. We're shipping some pretty big changes to Garen, Shaco, and Victor this patch, not big enough to be considered rework level lists. These larger change lists are meant to excite the players of these champions, freshen up their kits, and lessen common pain points that have developed. We want to also make sure we're hitting the identities players expect of them, and give them more viable and exciting play styles that should appeal to current, past, and hopefully future players. People universally fucking hate reworks. If you're a main of whatever character, you mained them because you liked how they were. You weren't like, oh, finally I can main Shaco now that he's completely different. They're not fucking with the grab length. Wow, that's really surprising to me. So they're hoping to nerf the Blitzcrank by reducing his armor. I think they could have weakened the hook a little bit, but it would have definitely been annoying. At least if they leave it like this, now you only have to learn it one time. If they constantly retweak the Blitzcrank hook range, that would be really fucking annoying. So you'd never really know where your standing is good or bad. Whatever. We'll see how this goes. I feel like they could reduce his base mana a little bit too. Like he already struggles a lot with mana. I think it's like 2 hooks and then you're out of mana. But we'll see. These are interesting. I read that they were going to do this Garen change. I didn't really know what it was though. Passive regen, more reliable. W now grants a shield instead of extra damage reduction for the first 0.75 seconds. E-spin now scales with AS. That's actually really good. That makes Triforce way better. R now always deals true damage. Nice. Villain passive removed. That's very good. This was always kind of wonky. When you did get it off, it felt good, but it was pretty stupid. Making big changes to our resident good boy, namely removing the villain mechanic on his ultimate, disliked by both Garen players and their opponents. Agreed. The mechanic wasn't making his gameplay healthier and took control from Garen when choosing his targets. That's very true. Frequently setting him up for failure. We've also cleaned up his passive and allowed him to gain Conqueror stacks, a rune other juggernauts get. Garen should now feel more intuitive to play and not so linear due to more options when considering items. Passive. HP per 10 is now better scaling, I guess. And regeneration interruption, 7 seconds when hit by epic monsters, towers, or champions. So no minions. So minions won't interrupt it? That's interesting. Cast time now scales with attack speed. Fixed a bug where Garen is slowed. His Q lockout time dramatically increased. This is gonna be weird. It always did have like a cast time thing where if you were trying to kill a minion and it died instantly, it would like reset over and over and over and over and over again. So that does make sense to me. This shield thing is very healthy, in my opinion. Like, shields, instead of damage reduction, are just easier for everybody to understand in general, too. This was a very difficult thing to see on the character. Like, he did kind of a Jarvan W style little effect around his feet, but you didn't really know when he popped this, and it wasn't like a meaningful thing, so adding a shield to it I think is good. I like this. Grants Conqueror stacks for each spin is also really good. So Triforce is going to be... Triforce and Conqueror sound really good. Grasp is always really good on Garen too, but he's probably going to play a lot more like Darius. Especially now that he can ult whoever he wants. I wonder if they're going to show the damage on it. They probably aren't. I complained about this a couple times too, but there are a lot of characters that rely on an execute ultimate that get the information of if it's going to kill or not. Like Pyke, for example. And I think it's really stupid that Pyke can see when he's going to kill somebody. That should be a get good thing in my opinion. They probably aren't giving it to Garen, because Darius can't see it, and Garen can't see it. Zed can see it, sort of. Like if you get the shuriken over their head, it means they're going to die. Which I think is a better way of doing things, but obviously you can't do that before the damage has gone off. I wish they'd remove that from Pyke, it's just fucking dumb. Anyway. Long arms no longer increases Ivern's range. Base attack range, okay, they made him ranged now, which was definitely necessary, making Ivern more approachable and stronger by not forcing him to get accustomed to multiple basic attack ranges. Definitely good. I like that. I wish that I saw more Iverns. I think that this character is really awesome and underplayed. Lysandra passive. NW damage ratios increase. We've sharpened her niche as a bursty engage mage while trying not to impact her pro leaning power. Wow. 20.216. The perfect armor. Okay, 22. Slightly better matchups. Damage ratio increased by quite a bit. That's good. And yeah, so she just does more damage all around. That's fine. And they are taking 20 damage off of max range. I think that they could have taken the full damage block off. But whatever. This is fine. It's a place to start. I think he's still going to be too strong with these changes. Kiana. Base damage down early, but then it scales back up and it's the same later on. It's fine. I haven't played against this character enough to really get destroyed. Like, I think that she's really good, but most AD mid laners are really good, so it's hard to tell for sure. Getting one-shot by Qiyana feels worse than getting one-shot by Zed or Talon even, so maybe it's just a game feel thing. I think that character was kind of rushed. Qiyana doesn't really fit perfectly with an identity. She was definitely my least favorite release of this year, I guess. She doesn't have a true identity, in my opinion. She'd really just let's release another AD mid. Shaco rework. Shaco's playstyle and identity have both changed considerably post-rework, and his gameplay gains have been dubious at best. He should feel empowered to interact with enemies, especially in the early game, but struggles to do so. With these changes, we're aiming to round out the amount of damage he deals throughout the game instead of having his damage centered around his late game one-shot potential. Additionally, we want to support both the more common AD and the more niche AP Shaco builds as meaningfully different playstyles, so we've changed E's damage type and moved some ratios around to encourage each build to play differently around their abilities. Fine. Base attack damage down by 6, and damage growth down as well. Backstab. Basic attacking an enemy now deals an additional 10 to 25 based on level, plus 0.15 bonus attack damage from behind. This damage can critically strike. 2-shift poison damage. 2-shift poison now deals an additional 15 to 50 damage from behind. Okay, that's good. So if you E somebody that's running away, you get a little bit of extra damage. And backstabbing people that are running away is a little tough too. I like that. I wonder what the timer is on backstab, I forget. Against champions, I think that it's pretty long. Deceive, stealth duration, he stays invisible for longer early, and then it evens out, and he's invisible for 1 whole second less at max rank. The cooldown is decreased quite significantly from 14 to 10 at max rank, and the empower damage is up by 15 at all ranks, and the scaling is down. When striking from behind, Deceive is guaranteed to critically strike for 130% damage. Interesting. So it's a mini crit, because normal crits are 200%, right? So this is just a mini crit. It's fine. They're making it more utility-based, obviously, by reducing the cooldown by this much, and the damage is probably going to be a little bit less, right? Because this ratio is about half of what it was, and 15 flat is not going to make up for that ratio, in my opinion. I'm not sure, though. That's just mental maths. Jack in the Box. When triggered, the boxes can now attack multiple targets in an AoE range. Interesting. We'll have to see how that works. They still get a fear? I guess so. 2-shift poison, blah blah blah. 50% increased damage to targets below 30% health. I like that. Better execute potential. Hallucination. Box trigger timer. Boxes trigger after 2 seconds. Boxes trigger immediately. Damage, I'm not sure how that's going to play out. Slightly worse. I don't know how the AoE thing is, so I don't know. We'll have to see. This is interesting, though. Sona, passive quality of life. Added a resource bar, so it's easier for Sona to track her own passive. Only visible to Sona. Fine. Varus's numbers are getting rounded out. I think they should just do a pass over everybody and fix all these numbers in one big sweep. Like, I don't think this meaningfully changes anything. The mana regen was definitely intentionally rounded up to 8. That was definitely an intentional buff. But the health thing and the mana thing, it's... And this is a slight buff to AD as well, because most of the time when they were buffing people, they gave Lucian like +3 or something, +2 maybe. So they're giving him a tiny little buff here. This was interesting. Victor players have always complained about itemization on the character, which I don't know about because I don't play him. He always seemed really strong to me, especially as a control mage, but we'll see what they did here. Shield 8% of maximum mana is now just ability power based. That definitely makes more sense. Direct hits slow enemies for 20% for 1 second. Okay. Chaos Storm will continue chasing champions after Victor dies. Oh, thank the Lord. Chaos Storm can now move over terrain. Ooh, interesting. And tick cadence from 2 seconds to 1 second. This ability was really slow. It would be over top of you and you could just fucking run away. Ticks from 3 to 6. And damage per tick is down to make up for that, of course. Perfect Storm movement speed. Chaos Storm moves, blah blah blah. 25% faster movement speed now, blah blah blah. Interesting. I like this Q change. And now he has a 20% slow that he can just use for hitting people with, right? Enemies stunned are dragged in. So, ooh, does that mean that this isn't part of it anymore? People don't get the mini Ori ulted into the center of your gravity field? I'm not sure. Direct hits slow enemies by 20%. What does a direct hit mean? Does that mean they just have to be hit with the E? Or hit with the W? Because I like the 20% slow. This makes sense to me, that you can just like walk up, flash W somebody, and it has a value instead of them having to stand in it for a longer time. I don't know. I think the Victor and Shaco changes I'll definitely have to see, but the Garen changes I think are really healthy. Just in general, Locket of the Iron Solari change, shield strength is up significantly. Wow, 120 from 30. Damn! Looking to broaden the use of Locket, especially in a meta where there are less AoE burst champions. The change will also apply to Circlet of the Iron Solari. Interesting. There are so many meta characters that could buy this shit and it would be fucking really good. Don't go to the JP version. The Koreans will have more interesting stats for us. The support meta right now of Blitzcrank, Nautilus, Leona, Thresh, Morgana, Bards, like all of these characters would love to build that, so I'm totally down with that. Adding friends via social. As of 9/20, players will no longer be able to find and add friends through social media. When clicking the add friends icon, there will no longer be an option on by add social, blah 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 blah. Bug fixes, I don't care, and new Hecarim skin looks really fucking sweet. I like this one. It's Blood Moon styled. It looks fucking good. Anyway, cute changes that haven't really done much. I'm excited to see what the preseason stuff is. I hope that they don't change a lot, because the one change that I'm really hoping for in preseason is that they remove stopwatch. Or at least move stopwatch to 15 minutes or something to make it significantly worse. Anyway, If anything, I think that Garen is going to be slightly more fun to play, so that's cool.